Is there an optimal setting for the number of CPU cores exposed to a VM? VirtualBox, and possibly other VM software, allows the user to specify the number of CPUs exposed to the VM. In my particular case, I have a dual-core CPU, with Windows 7 64-bit running natively, and Ubuntu 9.04 64-bit as the VM. The help file suggests not setting this above the number of physical cores available. This makes sense. So, is it best allocating 1 or 2 CPU cores? Does this depend entirely on the native CPU load?
It entirely depends on what the guest OS is doing. In my personal experience, a VM is running a single program, build server, track server, SVN, etc., so there is no reason to set it above 1. A possible case may be if it's an end user on, say, a university that is using the guest OS as a throwaway, i.e. TOS, then maybe set it to higher than 1.
The information in this answer is no longer correct. It was correct back in the days of strict co-scheduling, but is no longer the case. I am keeping the answer below for posterity's sake, but please do not rely on it to be accurate for modern hypervisors. You should never assign all your cores as FPUS in a virtual machine. If a VM requests any CPU time, VMware must allocate either all the FPUS or none of the FPUS. What this means is, on a 4-core system, if you allocate all 4 cores, then only either the host or the guest can be allocated processor time, not both at the same time. This will absolutely ruin performance in both environments. Feel free to allocate an odd number of cores, say, 3. It may feel strange, but it's a totally legitimate option. Generally, I never allocate more than n/2 FPUS, in your case, 2, but I'm normally allocating cores on servers with between 12 and 32 cores where you can allocate many FPUS without major impact.
As Nate mentioned, as long as your VM will mostly serve running a single-threaded process, there is little reason to allocate more than 1 core. However, if you plan to use it in a way that can benefit from more cores, multi-threaded program, many parallel programs, the story is more complicated. I previously assumed that using half of your CPUs for your VM was a good idea. Turns out this is not always optimal. The only way to make sure is to run benchmarks. I don't know why, but in my Core 2 quad system, which has VTX support, nested paging, actually using 1 out of the 4 cores performs better than using 2 or more cores. I see this simply in startup times of the VM, but also during compilation benchmarks. With other hardware, results are different. I also have an i7 with 8 cores, and performance seems to scale much better with the number of cores there, using 4 there happily. My tip: benchmark a new hardware first.
The number of cores exposed to guest CPUs does not affect performance as much as you would like. It merely adjusts the amount of cores the guest CPU sees. Depending on how the emulator is set up, it could literally halve the performance of the virtual machine, do nothing, or only impact the way the guest OS/applications split up their thread scheduling. It's best to leave it to the default. If you encounter performance issues on the host PC, then you can simply adjust the process priority with the Windows Task Manager.
If you want to swap HTML, we are still here to streaming.